While I'm here in Japan, I'd like to talk briefly about two Japanese haunted houses, one of which from 20 years ago, but I still remember. That's the Odaiba Schoolhouse. That's in Odaiba, Tokyo. And Odaiba is an island, a little entertainment area. I believe it's a man-made island. And it has all of the different entertainment areas. And one of the things that they have, or had, this was 20 years ago, was a floor that was sort of themed in the Showa era, which was like 1950s or so. So it all the 1950s stuff. And what they had was a haunted house, little haunted house called I don't remember the exact name, but it was basically the schoolhouse. So it wasn't really expensive, and there was a lot less English at that time. But they had a little laminated card that explained in not so perfect English, basically the rules and the story, which was one of the important parts. So this was a schoolhouse, and there was one of the students, I guess, who was either killed or however it was. She became a vengeful ghost, a yurei, and causing havoc and dangerous and all of that, fun stuff. And the guest's job was to go through the haunted house and to mollify her, to sort of satisfy her with an offering. So they gave me a piece of candy, which was like a wrapped butterscotch. And my job was to walk through this haunted house and find her shrine, which I didn't know what was at that time, and then place it and give it to her as an offering. So I walked through, and at first, some schoolhouse lockers, and etc. And then you go through a wall, and then everything just becomes ripped and shredded, and you're walking through, and it's all very claustrophobic. It certainly isn't, 48 inches wide, whatever we have to do in the States today. So it was very claustrophobic. I remember even I had to sort of climb through things. I'm walking on some foam, some squishy foam stuff. And because it's so claustrophobic, the actor, who I never really saw, was able to get me, get some scares. Now, it wasn't a scare. It was a lot more atmosphere. You're in this area, and you know that it can be happening at any time, and then it would happen, and then it would disappear. And the actor that they had, because I'm really pretty sure that they only had one actor working that haunt that day. It's not a big haunt. It's kind of very small. But he learned a little bit of English, so that was kind of cute, kind of funny. But still, because we were so claustrophobic, he could appear kind of anywhere, or at least get to me anywhere, just be a presence there. Anyway, so I walked through the haunted house, through all the tatters, through everything, and then I saw a shrine, and I realized that that's what it was. It had all of the candles and this and that, and you actually had to crawl a little bit further in. So you're even more in more of a confined space, which makes it easier for the actor to, make his presence known and get that scare. And I took the piece of candy, and I put it on the altar, and I heard a little thank you, which was really adorable. And then that was the end of the haunt. But I remember the feeling of the anticipation that it was building, because it was a lot more about anticipation than it was about constant pop scares. And of course the interactive part, where I actually had to reach in, and made me more vulnerable. So that was the Odaiba Schoolhouse. I heard that there is a haunted house still there in Odaiba if you go to Tokyo. It might not be the same thing, that I don't know. The other haunted house, or Hara House, or Obakayashiki, that I'm thinking of right now, that I've been to recently, is in Kyoto Eigamura, which is their movie studios. And so they still actually run, television shows. Whenever you see samurai dramas, some of them are actually filmed there, because they have all the sets and the props, and everything is set up. They've got all the costumes. So it's actually a working movie studio, but it's also a theme park, which means that you can go there and see everything and see all the shows. They have shows there, and you can even get dressed up, and a lot of fun. But inside, of course, they have a bunch of other attractions I can talk about at a different time, but they have, of course, their Obakayashiki, their horror house. This most recent horror house in Eigamura was designed by Gomi Hirofumi, who is a famous haunted house designer here in Japan. So some of the things that he likes to focus on are the atmosphere, Japanese themes, whether or not traditional or somewhat modern, but Japanese themes, the atmosphere, and interactivity. He wants the guest to have a more immersive and interactive experience. Now, of course, this is something that can't be done on huge, large scales like Halloween Horror Nights, because you have way too many guests and you have to, pump the guests through. But for the smaller haunts that have the time and ability to do this, it's really quite effective. Just like in Odaiba, where they give you a task, they give you a prop, something tangible, where you actually have to go and do something. And it makes you vulnerable while you're doing it. So in Kyoto Eigamura, so right at the start, once again, a laminated placard, a laminated piece of paper with English on it, This one is a lot better because, you know, they're a theme park. The goal was to take a blindfold off a dead prisoner and put it over the eyes of a vengeful doll that was causing havoc in some way. So you have to put it over the eyes, and that will stop the demons from coming out of it. The haunted house itself is, of course, gorgeous. I mean, they have actual movie sets there. So whether or not they use old props or whether or not they made props and sets just for that place, the sets and props are, of course, movie studio quality. And it's done with an idea, with a sort of a direction, almost like a TV director who wants you to look here, they want you to feel this, they want you to understand this, every single thing. Everything is specific, so you don't have just like body parts everywhere. You have a severed arm specifically placed in a way that you can tell that, oh, that was severed by this particular sword. In fact, one of the feelings that you get is something that I find is sometimes missing, is how dangerous and deadly these katanas, these samurai swords were. And you realize as you're walking through, you really don't want to be on the other end of these. So we're walking through, and once again, atmosphere over pop scares. So it's a lot of silence, a lot of eerie, a lot of sounds here and there. The actors are, or I think there was only 2 that day, you know, popping out, you know, kind of from a distance, just letting you know they're there. It's for the quick scare. So we're walking through the haunted house, and now I'm looking for this prisoner. So we go through the streets a little bit, and then we get to sort of execution chambers and all of the horrors there. And there is a jail cell, so, you know, with the sort of wooden, you know, cross-section, sort of wooden bars there. And the prisoner is on the inside of that. So we have to actually reach our hands through the bars. So our hands feel like they're kind of separated from us by these bars. And especially if there was, say, a katana coming, you know, to cut down. So there is a real vulnerability in reaching through the bars to take this blindfold off of a dead prisoner, and of course with all the lighting and everything like that, and you don't even know if that prisoner, if that's actually one of the actors or not. But as soon as I got hold of that white bandage, then the actor came out and boom, and I pulled my arm back because it, like I said, it really had that feeling of being vulnerable. Your hand could easily be detached from you right there, very similar to, you know, what you're kind of picturing in your head. So I took that blindfold, and then we walked through the rest of it, and once again, a lot of atmosphere, not so much with the constant pop scares. You know, you got the feeling going through, and then we get to a doll area, and you have these dolls surrounding you, all of them looking at you and everything, and going through, and you finally get to there's an altar, and there's a larger doll there, and once again, you have to step up and on, and you're away from sort of your open path where now it's a claustrophobic area again, and you put the blindfold on the doll. That, you know, there's the actors there, and, you know, nice little scare, and that's how it's done. So but both of these were a lot of fun because one of the things that made them fun was the interactive nature of them. Something else that's kind of interesting is that in both cases we were just there to mollify the demons or the spirits or the vengeful ghosts or whatever it is, because in Japanese horror, just generally, once the horror is created, it does not go away. It's not like, say, you know, Western horror where, oh, we found the reason why this person became a vengeful demon, and we fixed that, and we put their grave together or whatever like that, and they're happy, they're satisfied, and they go off and they're done. In Japanese horror, once it's created, a lot of times it does not go away. And if you've seen, say, The Ring, then you know this. You know what you do. They, you know, with the videotape or whatever, however they do it, it's not gone away. They've just kind of mollified. They protected themselves from it. So it's a really interesting type of idea that once horror is created. So if you were to do something to someone and they created this vengeful spirit and this vengeful horror, it's there forever, and even you cannot take it back and take it away. So that was a little bit about 2 Japanese haunted houses, or obakayashiki, and a little hint into some Japanese horror. If you like hearing about Japanese haunts or Japanese haunt adjacent things, for example, there's a temple nearby that is dedicated to hell and paradise, it's actually very interactive and quite interesting, or other little things like that. Just let me know, put the message in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed. This is Scaring with Sammy. Arigatou gozaimasu.